Hey guys, my name is Matthew and this is my review of Between Two Kingdoms, a memoir of life interrupted by Suleika Jaouad. Here we go. Between Two Kingdoms is a memoir of Suleika's journey from relative health, into full-blown cancer and the chemotherapy that accompanied that, and that journey back into health again. That's really the first part of the novel. The second part of the novel is about her journey back into health in its entirety, and really that's a mental journey as well as a physical journey. The second half of the novel is where she travels around the United States visiting people who wrote to her while she was sick in the hospital. A big thank you to Random House for providing me an advance copy of this book. In this review, I'll be detailing some of my observations of the memoir, starting with things that I liked the most and going through the list until I get to a couple things that I didn't like as much. At the end of this review, I'll give you my recommendation. Who should purchase this book? Right away, the author grips you with her amazing writing. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's so engaging. She does an excellent job of pulling you into her world and just inviting you along for the journey. And the whole time you're reading, you feel like you're right there with her, that you're experiencing the same emotions that she is, and that you're just kind of, I don't know, there's something about her writing that just brings everything to life. And I really appreciated that in this novel. As proof of that, I read a little bit, the first part of the book out loud. I was actually reading for my daughter, and my wife overheard, started listening, and she would not let me put down the book. She continued to make me read the next 5 chapters out loud until I said, okay, I'm not gonna read this whole book out loud to you, go pick it up yourself. But she was so engaged, she kept saying, will you read one more, will you read one more? It was really well written, and she just did an excellent job of engaging her audience with her writing style. The book also does a really good job of describing the gritty nature of everything she went through. There's actually a little bit of a trigger warning here, but a lot of the descriptions of what she went through, not just because of the cancer itself, but also the chemotherapy, the treatment to bring her back to health was horrendous. And she did a great job of describing how horrendous it was. The whole time you feel for her in a very visceral and deep way. And not just for her, but for her family and for her friends. And there's this description that not only the physical toll that it took on her, but the mental, emotional toll it took on her and everyone else around her as well. And she does just an excellent job of describing that in part 1 of the book. Something I really appreciated about this book, and even though there are a lot of really, really hard parts of the book, and there are really tough sections. Like I said, there's a trigger warning for some graphic nature of how, I don't know, how her body was responding to chemotherapy. But the book itself, even though it has depressing and hard things that are going on in it, I wouldn't say the book itself is depressing. And I think that's an interesting balance to strike. I think it's a tough balance to strike. This book was hard. It was a difficult book. But as much as there were some times when I wanted to put it down or put it away, it has a hopeful air throughout. Even though it deals heavily with mortality, death, sickness, and we see several people die actually in the book remains hopeful. I really appreciated that. It's a hard thing to do, but I think that she did an excellent job. The best part of the book, in my opinion, was the last kind of 30% of the book, where she travels around and gets to see all the people who wrote to her, or some of the people who wrote to her, well, definitely not all. Some of the people who wrote to her while she was in the hospital. I really appreciated that portion of the book, probably more than the rest of the book, actually. I think that this final section of the book, which the book is kind of named for, the idea of Between Two Kingdoms, is between the kingdom of the healthy and between the kingdom of the sick. And I think that she does an excellent job of writing about this in-between period, when she's technically healed from cancer, but she has a long way to go before she feels like she can rejoin this kingdom. And part of that is this 100-day challenge to travel around the United States with her dog and visit all these different people. That part of the book was really where all the hope came in. It was something interesting and new and different, and I really appreciated that in the book. A couple things I didn't like about the book as much. Number 1 is the character of Will, which she tells us at the beginning of the memoir that she changed his name for his identity and ambiguity and all that kind of stuff. Will, she's painted as an unrealistically amazing person. And while I don't doubt the strict events of what happened are true, he is painted throughout the memoir as kind of, I I don't know, he's unbelievable. I guess that's all. And even the way that he kind of leaves the scene is very abrupt, because we're painted this picture of someone who is nearly perfect. And maybe this is just a recollection thing, something she's done in her mind. And so she's trying to paint a realistic picture of what's in her mind. But I don't believe Will can possibly be as amazing as she's painted him in the memoir. So I think there's just a little bit of a disconnect, or at least at the very least, I didn't relate well to Will as a character because I felt like he was too perfect. The second thing that I didn't like as much about the memoir is that the whole first 60% or so is about her cancer journey. And I don't hate that that happened. I think that's fine, but that was not the strength of this memoir. The strength of it was in the last 30%. And so I really feel like the cancer rehabilitation process has been done before in memoir format, similar to what she's done here. What makes it different and interesting and good is the last 30%. And so what I really wish had happened is that those ratios have been changed. I wish the first 30 or 40% or something would have been really on that cancer journey. And I think she could have shortened that section a lot. And then the last 60%, I really wish would have concentrated on that bit. And then there's a 10% give or take somewhere. But I just wish there was more in the end. That's where I really feel like she hit her flow. And I really liked that part of the novel a lot. Before I give my recommendation for this book, I do just want to point to the description really quickly. We have an affiliate link down there. If you're going to purchase the novel, we'd really appreciate it if you use that link. It helps out our channel a lot and it doesn't cost you any extra. For my recommendation, I really recommend this memoir for people who enjoyed Suleika's column, Life Interrupted. If you enjoy her writing and her writing style, it's really well done. She's an excellent writer, and like I said, she's engaged the reader so well in this memoir. So if you enjoy her writing style, this would be a great book for you. If you have recently been diagnosed, or if you're going through the process with cancer, this might be the book for you, or it might not. If you find yourself to be easily triggered by those harsh descriptions and the realities of what you may be going through moving forward, this might not be the book for you. But if you feel like you need that, if you're saying, hey, I actually think I want to know what it is that I'm actually going to be going through, I need that kind of those kind of descriptions so I understand what I'm going to be putting myself through, or what's going to be happening in the future, this could be a good book for that. But just be aware of the trigger warnings. There are sections of this book that are depressing, and there are sections of this book that are hard. Like I said, the end of this book and the book overall feels hopeful and good, but it is still a hard book, if that makes sense. It's not an easy book, even though it does have that hopeful lining in it. For anyone else who's interested in reading a good story and you're not too affected by those kinds of trigger warnings, I also recommend the book for you. Like I said, it's well written, it's a good book, and I really enjoyed it. This has been my review of Between Two Kingdoms by Suleika Jaouad. If you've enjoyed this review, please feel free to like and subscribe, and use the description box below to pick up the memoir. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, stay safe out there.